Reading from Caitanya Caritamrita. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhatta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhatta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhatta Vrinda. We're reading from Adi Leela, chapter 5, text 21. Prema netri dekhe tara swarupa prakash, gopa gopi sange, yadha krishnera vilas. But with the eyes of love of Godhead, one can see its real identity as the place where Lord Krishna performs his pastimes with the cowherd boys and cowherd girls. So we had been reading yesterday how the dham here that we have here in the material world, the dham is not material, but it is spiritual. It is spiritual. It's coming from the spiritual world. But how can we be able to see that? We are only seeing stones and cement, and we are not able to see the chintamani. We are seeing only the ordinary trees. We are not able to see the real kalpa vriksha, the desire trees. That is because we do not have love of God. Once we revive our love of God, we will be able to see that this dham is spiritual, is a place where Krishna is eternally performing his pastimes. Chintamani prakara sadmashu kalpa vriksha laksha vriteshu surabhi abhipalayantam lakshmi sahasra shata sambrama sevayamanam govindam adi purusham tam aham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending cows, yielding all desires in abodes built with spiritual gems, and surrounded by millions of purpose trees. He's always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This is a verse from the Brahma Samhita 5.29. Brahma Samhita are the prayers by Lord Brahma. This description of the abode of Krishna gives us definite information of the transcendental place where not only is life eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge, but there are ample vegetables, milk, jewels, and beautiful homes and gardens tended by lovely damsels who are all goddesses of fortune. So here in this prayer, Brahmaji is telling us Krishna Lok. Krishna Lok. He's giving us information about it. You know, it's like when we are here, for example, I'm here in one country and I go and travel to another country. And then I come back and then I tell my family members, hey, you know what? The houses over there are of this style, you know? And you know, the people, they dress this, and this is the favorite food that they have. And you know, this is the mode of transport. It's like that. So here Brahmaji is telling us what is Krishna Lok all about. He's saying that it is transcendental, it's not material. He's saying that over there, life is not only Sat Chit Ananda, full of eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge, but there's also variety. There's vegetables, there's milk, there's jewels, there's homes, there's gardens, there's animals, everything is there. As we are having variety here in the material world, we have variety in the spiritual world. Then there's lovely damsels who are all goddesses of fortune. Krishna Lok is the topmost planet in the spiritual sky, and below it are innumerable spheres, a description of which can be found in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Krishna Lok is the highest planet in the spiritual world. Highest planet. There are other planets also in the spiritual world. They are. And the Bhagavatam gives us description. Bhagavatam gives us description. Bhagavatam also tells us about the other planets in this universe. In the 5th canto, there is more about the description of all the different planets, planetary systems. In the beginning of Lord Brahma's self-realization, he was shown a transcendental vision of the Vaikuntha spheres by the grace of Narayan. Later, by the grace of Krishna, he was shown a transcendental vision of Krishna Lok. So Brahma, when Brahmaji, when he was born, when he was created, he saw there was nothing there. He couldn't understand what to do, what he has to do. He heard the word tapa, so he engaged in devotional service for thousands of years. Then he got self-realization. Then he understood all the Vedas were spoken to him by Krishna in his heart, and he got self-realization. Then he could see all the Vaikuntha planets, actually see them by the mercy of Narayan, by the grace of Narayan. So we can see it's not by our effort. Oh, I want to go see it, but are we qualified to see it? No. And then Krishna, by grace of Krishna, he was shown the transcendental vision of Krishna Lok. Transcendental vision, not material, not with material eyes, but spiritual vision. This transcendental vision is like the reception of television from the moon via a mechanical system for receiving modulated waves, but it is achieved by penance and meditation within oneself. So Brahmaji was able to see it, like how we are seeing far away, we are all sitting in different places, but we can see each other. So Brahmaji could see that by the mercy of Krishna and by the mercy of Krishna. Yeah. And he qualified himself. He engaged in devotional service. Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto states that in Vaikuntha Lok, the material modes of nature represented by the qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance have no influence. In the material world, the highest qualitative manifestation is goodness, which is characterized by truthfulness, mental equilibrium, cleanliness, control of the senses, simplicity, essential knowledge, faith in God, scientific knowledge, and so on. So here in the material world, why do we have, you know what? We are all under the modes of nature, under these modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, Rajogun, Tamogun, and Sattvagun. What happens is these modes are always fighting for supremacy. Sometimes we might be very in the mode of goodness, but at the next moment, we might succumb to ignorance and become really very angry. Anger is in the mode of ignorance. So what are the qualities of goodness? Truthfulness, mental equilibrium, cleanliness, control of the senses, simplicity, essential knowledge, faith in God, scientific knowledge, and so on. So nevertheless, all these qualities are mixed with passion and imperfection. So there is not complete goodness. We can see immediately we change, immediately we might be mentally very stable at one moment, but immediately we can be overcome by passion and too many desires come in the heart and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this right away. But the qualities in Vaikuntha are manifestation of God's internal potency, and therefore they are purely spiritual and transcendental with no trace of material infection. So in the Vaikuntha planet, there is no this modes of passion, there's no mode of ignorance, and there is even no mode of ordinary goodness. Ordinary goodness is what, because sometimes we can be good, but we can be overcome by passion and ignorance. So in the Vaikuntha planet, it's only Shuddha Sattva, Vasudev Sattva, pure goodness, transcendental goodness. because the spiritual world is manifested by God's internal potency, internal, his spiritual energy, his spiritual potency. No material planet, even Satyalok, is comparable in quality to the spiritual planets, where the 5 inherent qualities of the material world, namely ignorance, misery, egoism, anger, and envy, are completely absent. So in this material world, there are so many universes in the material world, so many, unlimited universes. In each and every universe, there are innumerable planets. But any planet we go to, we might reach up to the highest planet of Brahmaji. That is the highest planet in this universe. Or we may go to Swarglok. Many people like to go to the heavenly planets. But what is there? Over there also, as we see in this earthly planet, even if we go to the higher planets within the material world, there will be ignorance, or there is ignorance, there is misery, there is egoism, there's anger and envy. It's only in the spiritual world, in the Vaikuntha world, that these are not there. There's no ignorance, there's no misery, there's no egoism, there's no anger, and there's no envy, because it is all Sat Chit Ananda, eternal, full of bliss and full of knowledge. There is no ignorance in the spiritual world. It's all knowledge. All knowledge is there. And Sat, eternal. It's not that it's there for some time and not there for some time. No, it's eternal. And bliss. Always there is happiness. There is no moroseness. There's no unrest. There's no fear. There's no anger. There's no envy. It's just bliss. Any questions or comments? No? Okay, we'll just read this one more paragraph. In the material world, everything is a creation. Anything we can think of within our experience, including even our own bodies and minds, was created. This process of creation began with the life of Brahma, and the creative principle is prevalent all over the universe because of the quality of passion. This material world is created. There's a point when it actually began. We've been hearing in Bhagavatam the detailed description, how there is nothing there, then the Mahatattva, then all the universes are coming out of Mahavishnu's body. So it's created. Then how Brahma is giving shape to all the living entities. All this is happening. And what is this creative principle? Why is there? Because of the passion. If there was no passion, then there didn't have been this creative principle. But just so that this material world can come about as it is, it's because of the mode of passion, the quality of passion. But since the quality of passion is conspicuous by its absence in the Vaikuntha planets, nothing there is created. Everything there is eternally existent. And because there is no mode of ignorance, there is also no question of annihilation or destruction. So there is no passion in the spiritual world. So there's no need to create it. It's always existing. Always existing. And ignorance, there's no need of ignorance. It never gets annihilated. It's eternal. There's no destruction there. In the material world, one may try to make everything permanent by developing the above mentioned qualities of goodness. But because the goodness in the material world is mixed with passion and ignorance, nothing here can exist permanently despite all the good plans of the best scientific brains. So I might say, okay, I'm going to raise myself to the mode of goodness. And then I will not be having any passion and ignorance. So I can live here eternally. I will not be destroyed. But the thing is, in the material world, this goodness that is there is mixed. It is not pure goodness. It is mixed with uh, passion and ignorance. The sattva gun is mixed with rajas and tamas. So it's not possible, not possible, no matter how much we try. Therefore, in the material world, we have no experience of eternity, bliss, and fullness of knowledge. And so that's why in our experience, we do not have the experience of Satchid Ananda, because we see everything is created, destroyed. Our knowledge is not complete knowledge. We are in ignorance. And Ananda, bliss, the happiness that we feel here is not the transcendental bliss. It is some material enjoyment that we receive, or temporary. We have enjoyment, but it's very temporary, very small. So we do not actually have this experience of Satchid Ananda, but in the spiritual world, because of the complete absence of the qualitative modes, everything is eternal, blissful, and cognizant. So in the spiritual world, there is no this goodness, passion, and ignorance. No, there isn't. It's all Satchid Ananda, eternal, blissful, and cognizant. Everything. Everything can speak. Everything can move. Everything can hear. And everything can see in fully blessed existence for eternity. Oh, how can be? What do you mean? My laptop can speak and it can move about? Oh my God, what's going to happen? My car can speak and can move about over there. Because in the spiritual world, everything is conscious. Everything is conscious there. Sat Chit Ananda. It's on the absolute platform. It's not like this material world that we are seeing. Material energy is unconscious. The earth, water, air, fire, ether, there's no consciousness in that. And so we are just manipulating these material elements and creating all the buildings and our houses and our laptops and our possessions, whatever we have, our clothes. So that's why it's not conscious, because it's just material, the material elements. But in the spiritual world, everything is eternal bliss and full of knowledge. Everything is full of knowledge. So everything can speak, everything can move, everything can hear, and everything can see in fully blessed existence for eternity. And then we might say, no, how can it be possible? In my experience, nothing is like that. So I can't believe that there is something like that. Then again, we are resorting, by saying such statements, we are resorting to our limited mind, which is material. Of course, we cannot experience the spiritual by our material resources. The way to receive spiritual knowledge is by hearing. Brahmaji is coming and telling us. So if I'm visiting a country and I tell you, and I come back and I tell you, hey, you know what? This is how they build their houses. It's in this shape. And you know, this is their favorite food and this is what they do. And you tell me, I don't believe you just because you haven't been there. So does it mean that what I'm saying is wrong? Or is it that you do not want to accept the fact? You know, so we are hearing about the spiritual world. We have to, and how can we realize it? By receiving this knowledge. By receiving, because we are hearing in the parampara system, we are hearing from people who have seen the truth. Who have seen the truth, and they're telling us about it. The situation being so, naturally space and time in the forms of past, present, and future have no influence there. So there is no influence of space and time. There is no past, present, and future. So does it mean that because time is conspicuous by its absence in the spiritual world. And that's the reason everything is eternal. No, nothing or no one grows old. Nothing deteriorates. Everything is eternal, ever existing. So, but then we see that there is the moon there. We see the pictures where Ras Leela is happening, the moon is there. Then what about that? Or that Krishna wakes up in the morning, there's the sun there. Then what about that? Well, there is uh, just a semblance of the movement of time for the sake of pastimes, but there is no deteriorating effect of time as it is there in this material world, because time is eternal. Time is eternal, and we, the souls, are eternal. And that's why when we say, oh, so much time has passed, I didn't even realize. It seems like a flash. Oh, 40 years have passed. Oh, 50 years have passed. Seems like a flash. Why? Because we are the soul, and time does not have its effect on the soul. And no, and even space does not have its effect, because that is the absolute atmosphere. It's the absolute world. So there is no difference. In the spiritual sky, there is no change because time has no influence. Consequently, the influence of Maya, the total external energy, which induces us to become more and more materialistic and forget our relationship with God, is also absent there. So there is no influence of Maya Devi there. It's under her influence that we are forgetting God more and more, that we are forgetting that we have an eternal relationship with Him more and more. And that is here in this material world. But in the spiritual world, it's all cognizance, all knowledge. There is no ignorance there. And so everybody is situated in their original position. Sat Chit Ananda, absolute bliss, eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. Is that okay? And tomorrow we can continue reading more about this. It's like the whole philosophy is Prabhupada is giving in one purport. You know, all the knowledge packed in one purport. So thank you so much for listening, and thank you for joining in. Shri Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai, Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.